Welcome to our Concordia Publishing House music interview with composer John Behnke. I'm Anna Johnson, the marketing manager here, and we have Mark Knickelbein, who's one of our editors. And like I said, we're joined by John. Welcome, John.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me.
And John, you're joining us from your church, is that right?
No, actually, I'm at home. But
you're at home enjoying the comforts of home.
It's 10 degrees here in Wisconsin, and I said I'm just going to stay at home.
Hey, I understand. I grew up in Wisconsin, and Mark was there for a while too, so I completely understand. Anyway, thanks for joining us. We're just going to start off today with a few biographical questions, and then we're going to talk about two of your pieces. First, could you just tell us, John, a little bit about your background, what you do outside of composing, and then specifically how you got into composing and just your whole journey coming to us with CPH music?
That could take hours. But anyway, yeah, we'll start, and I'll give you the shortened version, okay? Because I think that would be fine. But well, right now I'm retired from Concordia University, Wisconsin, after 29 years of teaching, and that happened August in 2015. So it's been a year and a few months, and what I do is I'm actually at historic Trinity Lutheran in downtown Milwaukee as the organist and choir director. I'm the music editor for AGHR Publishing, which is Handbell Musicians of America. I'm the director for Milwaukee Handbell Ensemble, and I also do my own composing and arranging and playing and directing of festivals and workshops. So I'm really not retired. I'm still very busy and still active with lots of things, and it's terrific. If you're looking about background, we could go years and years back, back to the prehistoric days. But anyway, well, probably I should start at St. Andrew's Lutheran in Park Ridge, Illinois, because that was my church as a student and a child, and the organist there was Mel Roderman. And Mel was the first one to give me some organ lessons, and just a terrific musician. What a servant of God. And then after that, I took a Step 1 program, which was a summer program, and ended up going to Concordia University in Chicago. Now, before it was River Forest, and went there, did the parish music program. And then I was in Des Plaines at Emmanuel Lutheran for a few years, St. Peter in Schaumburg for a few years. My wife and I went to Germany for a year, which was very exciting. Then we came back, and I was employed at St. John's College in Winfield, Kansas, until it closed in 1986. And then after that, I got the job at Mequon, and I was at Mequon from 86 till 2015. Before I say anything else, I want to preface stuff, because I know that we talk about me and all that, but I have to tell you just a short story. Sure. I remember I was a student at River Forest. We went, lectures in church music happens every year, and as students we went to those things. We were given time off to get there. And I remember a composers forum that took place, and all the big names were there. And they went down the table one after the other talking about their background and their history and all their influences and this and that and that. And the last one on the panel was Jan Bender. I'll never forget it, because I had played his music I had learned some of his pieces. And I'd never seen him before, and there he was at the end of the panel. And after all the folks went through all these wonderful things about all the great things they have done, and Jan Bender started by saying, I just want to thank God. I want to thank God for allowing me to do the things that he allows me to do, and the opportunities that he's given me. And I feel exactly the same way. I mean, this whole journey that I've had has been one that's just been, absolutely beyond my, what you could think about, beyond description, blessed by God beyond description. It's a piece I wrote a number of years ago, but it's true. I mean, you don't realize that, Germany or Schaumburg or Des Plaines or Winfield, what one step of stepping stone will do for the next stepping stone, so to speak, as you walk and you just say, where does God want you to go? And I think I should go here. I think he's leading me here. Okay, I'll take that step. And every one of the steps was frightening as can be. I mean, that's the thing that's, the first big parish, will the choir people like you, or will they just, what'll happen? and all the way the journey, even in going to Germany. Germany was just such an adventure. I mean, a foreign language for everything. All my instruction was in German. All the conversation during the day was in German. I mean, I had 3 years in school, but boy, it was not nearly what I should have had to be able to. I mean, I learned quickly. I learned what that guy at the post office was saying to me. No, that's not the right change, or whatever. So yeah, you learn as you go through the whole thing, and the blessings at Winfield, the blessings that took place at Mequon, and the blessings that Trinity is right now, and all the other things that I do. I am very thankful, and especially for my wife, because she puts up with it all. You know, she allows me to, oh yeah, sure, go ahead. So I mean, it's been a wonderful journey, and that's kind of in essence kind of the background of my life.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And such a good point to bring it back around to what God has done for us. Sometimes it's so easy to get caught in the moment or who we're talking to, and just to keep that focus on Christ and his word and his gifts to the church in all times and places. And that's, your story is really a testament to that. So along the way, where did you get started with composing? It sounds like you were interested in music that whole time. What was there, like one moment where you really decided I want to compose, or was it just production?
I hear strange things in my head. In high school, I dabbled a little bit at sitting down at the piano and maybe writing a piano piece or two, and they were really, I don't know, nothing that's worth even looking at, you know. And I don't think I even have them anymore. But that was where it started. But then, you know, River Forest was a place where, I mean, I was in theory class, and then I did take composition lessons with Dr. Hillard, and so that was a starting point. And I actually, in those days, which was the 70s, I wrote some psalm settings for guitar. Oh my, guitar and piano, because those are the days that folk services were going on, Chicago Folk Mass and things like that. And so, I mean, you know, it's a tune, and can I harmonize it? But I, you know, I went to the organ as well, and really the composing, it started there at college. Dr. Zeddes, Leslie Zeddes, was my first organ teacher. And he was very encouraging. I wrote some organ preludes, and he said, you should send those in, send them in the CPH, you know. And so I sent them in, and they were rejected. And then I changed a few, and I write a few more, and I sent it in, they were rejected again. And I tell you, I think maybe 5 times rejected. But I kept changing. I kept, you know, switching the order and sent it in again. And finally it struck. I was like, oh, and they were accepted. And that's the 7 hymn preludes. And that volume is still in publication. It's still, people still purchase it, and it's just amazing. That's kind of where it started. I certainly had composition lessons in Germany with Johannes Koch, Johannes H.A. Koch, Mr. Koch. I mean, he actually had a piece, a collection that was published by CPH. For organ and brass, or organ and trumpet, I think it was, and I used it. So when I got to Germany, I knew the name Johannes Koch. I said, oh, I want to take lessons with him. And so, yeah, it was exciting. And just a quick story. You know, I don't know, we've got plenty of time, I suppose. But yeah. When I went to Germany and took the lessons, I signed up for the composition class. And first day he gives us an assignment. It was a psalm setting, write something on a psalm. And we had all week to do it. We got back the next week, and I have to tell you that there was, he starts and he goes down every one of the students, you know, this person, that person, this one. And of course, I was the foreigner. I was the American, you know, I just was there, just barely getting the language, surviving. He went through all the German students. None of them had any music done, no composition. And it was every excuse, you know, the dog ate it. It's in my car. I left it in church. I mean, you know, I just had no time. I mean, anyway, it got to me, and I sat there very sheepish because I actually had 2 things. I said, you know, I got 2, and he just lit up. He lit up, and we started. Basically, the whole class period was working on my 2 pieces, which was fantastic. And so the next week, when the class happened the next week, guess who he called on first? Me, the foreigner. I mean, it was wonderful. It was just, I mean, I wanted to learn how to, you know, to write. Teach me, you know, what am I doing wrong? What can you help me with? And then at Northwestern, which was another place I went to school for master's and doctorate, Dr. Harris was there, Dr. Robert Harris. He was the choral director. And I took his class on choral writing, I think twice. It was a seminar class that you were in with other students. And he was tough on us. He never liked anything we did, nothing. I mean, everything, no, that could be better. Oh, that could be better. Well, sure enough, I mean, he was great. I mean, it made us really want to write and try to see if we could get something that maybe he would like. And sure enough, just about, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago, I saw Dr. Harris because he's now the interim director with the Milwaukee Symphony Chorus, filling in while we have a vacancy. And of course, my handbell choir, Milwaukee Handbell Ensemble, was playing with the Milwaukee Symphony. So we were together, and sure enough, we saw each other, and boy, the stories started flying. And of course, I had a couple of my pieces in the concert, and I said, now, Dr. Harris, don't be too critical. And we had just a wonderful time, kind of reliving those moments. And he said, well, I sure hope I helped. And I said, you did. It was wonderful. So yeah, that's where I've always heard things in my head. I always thought, oh, I should write this down, or I improvise at the organ a little bit, and then think, well, what can I do with this? So that's how the composing happens.
Awesome.
I think your stories kind of lend to great advice for young composers. You keep at it. You try something and you work at it. If John Behnke had to work at it, and you mentioned he sent things to CPH early on, and it was rejected, and he tried again and again, and look where you are today, composing in so many different areas.
Well, thanks, Mark. I say that to every one of the students that I've ever had. I said the main thing is persistence. Just keep learning. There's a I don't know, it's a fable or whatever. Suzuki, the famous violin teacher, he says it takes two things if you have a tree, it takes two things for that tree to grow: water and sunlight. He says if it gets too much sunlight and no water, it dies. If it gets just water and no sunlight, it dies. So, I mean, it's a constant that every day you're trying to nurture that. And that's kind of the craft of the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, it's a blessing of God that you get the time, that you have the sounds in your head, the inspiration comes along, and then hopefully it all, matures into something that first of all, that I like. And then if somebody else likes it, I mean, wow, I'm always amazed that people like it. Because, every once in a while I'll get an email. And it can come from anywhere. I had one from Italy once, or Seattle, across the country, the other side of the country. And so he says, oh, I played your piece. I love it. Thank you so much for doing it. And I'm like, wow. The what'd you say? The effect or the outcome of what publishing can do is just unbelievable, especially now with the internet and people buying music all over the world on the internet. You don't even have to send them the music. They can download it. It's a whole, it's just amazing what has happened. So it's a global community in that sense. Yeah.
For sure. If you don't mind, John, we want to talk about a couple of your more recent pieces. I think we're going to start with Scatter the Darkness, Break the Gloom. And since Mark's the music expert, he'll probably do the intro, and then you can fill us in on all the details. Yeah.
So Scatter the Darkness, Break the Gloom.
I've got the original.
Cool. Is it handwritten there?
Oh well, it's out of my computer. I said this is an interesting comment, Mark. Sorry, but years ago everybody wrote them by hand, right? So you saw everybody's handwriting, their notational handwriting, and now when you use notation, which everybody, Finale or Sibelius or whatever everybody uses, now it has no personality. It's just it's just out of the printer. It all looks the same. I've seen manuscripts from some composers, and Bill Payne is one who just has phenomenal handwriting. That his personality, the warmth of his person, just kind of comes out of the music. So, but anyway, yes, Scatter the Darkness. Go ahead.
So we can return to that, you're saying?
Yeah, let's return to that.
All right. So this is a hymn. The text is by Stephen Starkey, fairly new, 1995. Most may be familiar with a different tune to it, but you wrote a new tune. Both side, right?
Should I talk about it? Look,
Sure.
Okay, all right. There's a real good story to this piece because Steve Starkey and I were invited up to, I can call him Steve because he's a friend now, but Pastor Starkey and I were invited up to Wausau for a hymn festival that Irene Beathy was putting on at her church. And so she, you know, I mean, it was first time for me to work with Pastor Starkey, and we wanted to use a lot of his hymns and texts. And Scatter the Darkness, I think, is a marvelous text. And it's in the hymn book, but it's in the hymn book with a different tune, which is the tune for People Look East, which is an Advent carol, and actually a very old French carol. And I just, every time I went to that text, I went, it just was, you know, it's Advent. It's not Easter. And so I was brave enough, and I did it. First of all, I did it without asking him to start with. We were on the Gulf Coast. That's why the Gulf side is there. And I had a little time, and so I started messing around with a tune, because rather than ask, I wanted to see if I could write a tune first before asking to see what he thought of it. And so I wrote the tune and put it all together, made it look nice so that I could present it nicely to him. And then I said, Pastor Starkey, what do you think? You know, and so he looked at it and, oh, yeah, I like this. And he has given his permission, which is wonderful, because we used it at the hymn festival, was the first time where he was there. So he heard the premiere, and then the music came after that, because, you know, we put it together. So that's, you know, one of the things that's always tricky, because you're working with another, you know, person, and you want to make sure that they enjoy what you're doing. And actually, he's used the tune a couple of times, at least he's told me a couple of times in the workshops he's done since. And I think he's putting it into his new book. So that's phenomenal. I was very happy. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, Gulfside definitely sounds Easter. You know, it's triumphant. Yeah. I think we'll hear it in just a couple of minutes. But yeah, so
the biggest thing with the piece, if I would just make a couple of comments, is to say, don't go too fast. Okay, as I've seen some people, I mean, we had a reading session that I was at, and I was just sitting there, and it seemed like most people they want to go too fast with it. And the majestic and the 104 is, I think, really a crucial element to get the words and the tune to kind of really mesh together. It should just kind of, you know, be there, a really solid, powerful type of tune and text.
Yeah, and the way you've got this piece set up is really great for teaching the congregation the tune. You know, you have it says optional congregation, but, you know, stanza 1 is, of course, just choired so that they learn it. Stanza 2, congregation then joins and tries it, and stanza 3, you've got
stanza 3 explodes and has the descant, and yeah, I mean, it's much more, yeah, it's meant to be a teaching piece, because let's face it, it's a new tune, and the text is relatively new, and I thought, well, if congregations are going to learn it, it could start with the choir first, and then see if the people want to join in. And I mean, we had great success with it up in Wausau, so it went well. And so then I thought, well, okay, let me put it together and send it in with Steve's permission. And so I hope people will look at it. It's something new, at least for Easter.
Yeah, and I noticed the voicing is really versatile. It's voiced for SATB, organ or piano, optional congregation, optional trumpet. So, you know, a whole range of situations would really.
Yeah, whether it's a small church or a large church, if you got resources, a lot of resources, and sometimes congregations aren't used to trying some new hymns, so the choir could sing it first for a couple years, and then all of a sudden, gradually, you know, use the reproducible page in the back, and let's try this the third Easter. I don't think, you know, it doesn't all have to be done at one time. I mean, you know, the progression of time is wonderful to just kind of gain and work on things.
Mm-hmm. So do you have a preference between organ or piano for a piece like this?
Oh, you know, I mean, well, I'm an organist, so yeah, organ is what I would kind of hear it with. But I'm sure that, you know, if I had circumstances that I didn't have a great instrument, or maybe no organ at all, why not use a trumpet and piano and the choir? I mean, the more people that use it and the more usable it is for all type. That's why the options. I love options. You know, I think if we just say, you know, you have to have 4-part brass, and you have to have, if it doesn't stand alone just for the choir, well, you know, I don't know, then you need all these other resources, and that makes it harder, I think, for congregations. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, we're going to listen to a little bit of it now, and then I think we'll transition on to our next piece. So here we go. Scatter the darkness, break the gloom. John, for letting us share that recording with us and telling that story. It's always great to hear the story behind the music. The next piece we're going to talk about is Peace in Our Time, and that's a handbell piece. Can you give us a little bit of background on that piece and how it came about?
Same one. Yes, I can. This
manuscript this time, huh?
No, it's not manuscript. This is, I've always loved this hymn. It's in the hymn book, you know, grant peace we pray and mercy, Lord. And actually, Carl Schock was the one that introduced us to it years ago with his choral anthem. And I remember singing it, you know, at River Forest years ago. And then it's in the hymn book, which is great. And this, well, okay, I thought it was timely, first of all. The text, the collect that it comes from is timely. And then I also thought that this is when I was still at Concordia, I think maybe the last year, the next last year. And I was working with Alleluia ringers. And I wanted a piece where I could use all the chimes. At that point, we had 7 octaves of chimes, which the low chimes are just, you know, glorious to listen to. And I wanted to be able to feature really low chimes and have these low sounds. And in a program where you have bells going on like crazy, to have a piece just with chimes would be wonderful. So that's what this piece started as. Okay, I mean, it could be used either for bells or chimes, but it's really meant to give that peaceful kind of warmth of this prayer that takes place, of the collect. And I used every low chime I had with the choir, and we took it on tour. And people seemed to like it. I mean, you know, the ringers liked it, and it was a time just to really listen to the low chimes, which you don't really listen to much alone, okay, isolated. So that's where the piece comes from, and that's why I decided, well, let me see if I could send it in and see if you know, if anybody would like it. And it's actually gotten very good reviews, which I'm very happy about. You know, there's so many pieces in the world, and so much publishing that takes place from every company. And so I've had people that you know, on Facebook that have said, oh, it's a great piece and really great for chimes, and that really makes me happy, because I think it could be very effective during Lent. It could be wonderfully effective. As a prayer towards the end of the service, it could be during the offering. It could be worked very well. There's lots of options where this, and it's not too long. I think 2.5, 3 minutes. It's kind of perfect timing for that.
Very good. So, and just for those listening here, there's 2 tunes for Grant Peace We Pray in Mercy, Lord in Lutheran Service Book. And this one is based on the Mendelssohn tune, right?
Yes, this is the Mendelssohn tune, and I mean, it's so lyrical, and it's the one that was the choral anthem that Dr. Schock did.
Sure. So, John, one thing I'm wondering, and I guess this is about more than just this piece, but composing for handbells, it must be a different process than, well, I think it must be than for organ or choir. You know, do you sit at a keyboard to write for handbell?
For both, it's not so different, Mark. I don't think. Whichever instrument you write for, whether it's choir or organ or bells, I mean, you have to know the medium, right? You got to know this voice can get this high, or this is a bad syllable, or this accent is wrong, or if it's organ, what registration can work together, and what instruments, you know, and what can the pedal actually do or not do, and should it go in the left hand or right hand? And for bells, it's the same thing, to know, okay, if it's 2 octaves, 3 octaves, 4 octaves, what are the dimensions of that? What are the capabilities of ringers? What are the levels of the music? I mean, that's kind of the school of hard knocks for me. I mean, when I first got it started with bells, it was from Schaumburg, St. Peter Schaumburg in Illinois. Overnight, I became the bell director. Pastor came and he said, "Oh, we just got a gift of 3-octave handbells, and you're the new director." And I went, "I know nothing about handbells." So I went to Eric Bredeheft, who was over at Trinity Roselle, and he had some bells, and he said, "I got 30 minutes, I can tell you about it." And it wasn't nearly enough, but anyway, but that got me started. And let's face it, you ring, you learn how to ring, and then you start to say, you have to get the tune in the range that it needs to be, and then figure out, okay, what technique will work best for bells. For this piece, LV, to keep those sounds just flowing is wonderful. Other times it can be a stop sound, thumb damps or marts or martellatos, or plucking. I mean, so all those to kind of have in your ear. Oh yeah, that you know the instrument, and you say, I think that would really work well, and then you put it down and then you try it out. I mean, this was tested by Alleluia Ringers for over a year, and I certainly made little adjustments here and there, but I think I knew what I wanted, and I got pretty close, and the ringers went, yeah, it sounds great on, especially with, I think with bells it'll sound great too, but chimes is what I was really looking for to start with. Yeah. And the process, yeah, I sit at a keyboard and I start to play, and okay, what range is it in? Okay, now I start to harmonize, and then of course, okay, for keyboard there's 10 fingers, right, and 2 feet. But ringers, sometimes you have 13 ringers, 11 ringers for 3 octaves, or 13 or 14 ringers for 4 or 5 octaves. So there can be more than 10 notes sometimes. And I think as composers, we sometimes don't think about that. I mean, if you write it from the keyboard and you write like you play, it can be 4 voices, and yet you've got a lot more ringers that are sitting around doing nothing, and they could enjoy playing as well. So a little bit, yeah, you make adjustments as you go based upon the knowledge of the instrument, of the medium.
Awesome. We ready to listen?
Sure, let's listen.
Okay, let's listen to Peace in Our Time. Okay, well, thanks again, John, for sharing that with us. One more thing we want to talk about just for a few minutes, and then I know I have to get going. Could you tell us about some of our new pieces that are going to be released when our CPH Music 2017 comes out?
Well, yes, there's a few coming up, I think 6 or 7, something like that. There's a bell piece that's entitled In Christ There Is No East or West. It's the McKee tune. It's a spiritual. And it actually was a commission from a St. John's Lutheran Church in Casson, Minnesota. Linda Wunderlich was her name. And she was the director. And this this bell piece, it has a little bit of the blues in it because I wanted to show kind of the sinful nature. And then that Christ wipes that clean. We start over. So, and then we sin again, and that way he wipes it clean again. And so you hear the kind of the blues effect of this, of the beginning, and it uses chimes and bells together. She has instruments she wanted to use, and I think it'll be fun to play, and hopefully meaningful, theologically. There are 2 organ collections that are in the works. For those church musicians, organists that are out there, yes, there's another 5 Preludes of Praise, set number 10, that's done. And it starts off with a prelude and fugue on A Mighty Fortress. And I kind of like writing fugues. There's not many people that do, but I kind of like writing them. And I think it's a fun fugue for A Mighty Fortress. So prelude and fugue on that. A kind of a gospel setting of what a friend we have in Jesus. Not like Charles Orr, it's not that far, but it has kind of the spiritual sound. A setting of Dearest Jesus, We Are Here, Liebster Jesu. A beautiful kind of setting of From Heaven Above to Earth I Come, and then a postlude on the tune All for Jesus. It's a John Stainer tune, which you could use as a recessional or as a postlude. And then there's quite a debate on Facebook about what color. Oh yeah. Well, after 9, what do you do? I mean, there's only so many colors, but that was nice to hear everybody chiming in. I mean, everybody had an opinion, that's for sure. And then another collection is 3 church windows, Reflections for Organ, and this was commissioned by Peace Lutheran Church in St. Louis. Lee Ferry over on the south side, South County. This is based upon the windows that they put in their church. There's 3 windows I picked out. One is the creation window. A second one is the crucifixion window. And lastly, in the middle, right over the altar, is what they call the eclipse. And each one has a hymn tune that goes with it. The creation window is about baptism and new birth, and it has children of the Heavenly Father. Crucifixion has What Wondrous Love, and the eclipse uses At the Lamb's High Feast, because being right above the altar, it's where everybody comes for the distribution and communion. And the last one, the eclipse, has additional parts for brass that could be done, so organ and brass. And it's a pretty 12-15 minute work, I think. I mean, it's longer. For choir, there's a 2-part setting of Lord Thee I Love with All My Heart. You could do it with 2 voices, 2 soloists. You could do it with 2-part children's choir or 2-part adult choir. It's really very flexible for small choirs, and it could even be done by a big choir. But that's a wonderful hymn that I just love. Another one is another choral piece for SATB choir, Lord Keep Us Steadfast in Your Word. This one was commissioned by the Wisconsin Evangelical Lutheran Synod for their 2017 National Conference. I'll just talk about it real briefly. I don't know how much time you have, but Lord Keep Us Steadfast only has 3 stanzas to it, the hymn. And so they wanted like a concertato, which is fine, but 3 stanzas goes very quickly. It doesn't make much music, and especially it's a short hymn. It's not real long. So what I did was each stanza of the text, of the hymn text, I did like an exegesis of it, in the sense that I looked at where the scripture was referenced that had to that poetry, the text that was put in. And so what I have is the choir that sings this kind of scriptural part, and then everybody can sing the stanza of the hymn. Okay, so it's choir, everybody, choir, everybody, choir, everybody. And the possibility is that the congregation could join in. So I'm kind of excited about it, because I really like the way it turned out. And it has a refrain which kind of works through. And I think for Reformation, and especially for their convention, I hope it's very well received. And this is, I mean, it's really written for a good 4-part SATB choir, because they'll have a big festival chorus, I think, doing it. But I think it could be done by any group, kind of like God is Our Refuge and Strength. I did that piece some years ago, and that's the same way. Let's see what else. O Holy Night is another one. I love O Holy Night, and CPH has never had a version, to my knowledge, of O Holy Night. I changed some text, at least I tried to get the doctrine, the theology the right way. And for Christmas Eve, how can you not like O Holy Night? And it's a nice setting I've tried to clean up the organ parts for the organist, which sometimes is hard to do on the other versions. And then the choir has very nice women, and then the refrain comes in, and then men, and then the refrain comes in. So it's not hard, but I think very effective. And we've used it at Trinity, Historic Trinity, for a number of years, and I mean, it's always a favorite on Christmas Eve. Is there any others? I think that's it, isn't it?
That's it, yeah. Lot to look forward to in May.
Yeah, I think so. And there's more in the works, but can't tell.
Top secret.
Oh, yes. Well, the reason I say that is because sometimes in the past, I mean, in years, prior years, somebody said, "Oh, what are you working on?" And so I'll say that. I'll say, "Oh, such and such," and then they're waiting for it to come out. And sometimes pieces don't come to fruition. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you may think, "Oh, I'm going to write something on this," and you're really not happy with it, and so it just sits and it waits until there is inspiration. And it shouldn't take place if you don't think it's any good. You should just let it sit there. And so people have expectations. I mean, sometimes they keep saying, "Well, when's the next one?" Well, I'm not sure. And I don't want to disappoint. So rather than, it's just better to be quiet and say, I am working, and I've got I've got lots of things. Now I have actually more time to compose, which is just marvelous. And people are still, emailing me to saying, would you write this piece or that piece? And even sometimes with instruments and orchestra. So I'm having a great time. I am very blessed to be able to do something I love and to have the time to do it. And yeah, I just feel just really, really blessed by everything. So God has been good.
And we are so blessed to be able to enjoy and sing and play your music.
You are most kind. I'm always amazed at anything I write that anybody really wants to sing it or play it. It's just, I mean, to me, it's a shock when anybody says, yeah, I bought that. I'm going to use that. And then if they like it, it's just like, wow, that's a double blessing. So yeah, I thank everybody. I thank all those church musicians that have purchased a piece of music and allowed me to keep kind of, you know, those crazy things I hear in my head to put down on paper. So thank you all.
Well, John, thank you so much for your time. This has been a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed hearing your stories and hearing the background to some of these things. And
there's always more stories. Yep.
Part
Thank
2,
you guys. Yeah.
Thanks, John.
You're very welcome, Anna. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. God's blessings to you both.
Bye.
bye-bye.